month of October is going to be a rather quiet month. The biggest and most influential transit of October 2025 would be Pluto turns direct. But for most of the month, the focus is going to be on the sign of Scorpio. Mars is already there, sign of Scorpio, and the sign of Libra. Why? Because for most of this month, the Sun will be in Libra and then Scorpio. Mars is already in Libra. Mars is already in Scorpio. So for the month of October, Libra and Scorpio houses, it's going to be the focus of attention. We're going to have Mercury entering Scorpio early on the month, and then we're going to have a full moon in Aries. After that, we're going to experience planet Venus enter its home kingdom of Libra, and then after that, we're going to experience Pluto turns direct, and then Mercury conjunct Mars in Scorpio, right? And then after that, we're going to experience a new moon in Libra. And then there's going to be not much in terms of transit in the middle of the month until we enters the last 10 days of the month, where we're going to experience Sun entering Scorpio, and then on the last week of the month, we're going to experience Mercury. After have been transiting almost the entire month in Scorpio, Mercury will enter Sagittarius. So for the entire month of October, the focus will be on the sign or on the energies of Libra and Scorpio. So this is a quiet month in general, right? Not only that, because there's going to be energies of the Sun, Mars, and Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, we're going to experience a grand water trine. Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and North Node in Pisces, together with Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Scorpio. For the entire month of October, we're going to experience this very beneficial emotional trine, water trine. So this month is more about emotions, but because it is supported by Jupiter and the North Node, we're going to get blessings out of our emotions. Not only that, this also a month of Libra energies with Venus entering Libra, and Sun for most of the month will be in Libra. So it's all about the depth of Scorpio, but also hidden from view is that those depth, those scorpionic depth, will be hidden by this very graceful and very beautiful Libra energies. So this is my whole sign breakdowns of the highlights of October for all 12 rising signs, and also, as usual, for my advice for my monthly highlights videos is that in order for you to truly understand the meaning of each transit for each month, is that not only pay attention to your rising sign. Your rising sign is your place in the world, is your location on the planet. It's described by your rising sign. But you also need to pay attention to your sun sign, which is your core identity, your ego, right? It is also your force of life. And also you need to understand your moon sign also. Your moon sign is your emotional foundation. It is your emotional surroundings, your emotional workings. It is also describing your family, your home. So in order for you to fully understand, I advise you to watch not just for your rising sign, but also for signs that represents your sun and signs that represents your moon. For the first rising sign, we will go to Aries rising, the most accurate, followed by Aries sun and Aries moon. For my dear Aries rising friends, this October highlights will focus the energy of the heavens into 4 different division or houses. We're using whole sign astrology in this case, as always, which is the energy of Aries, the energy of Scorpio, the energy of Libra and the energy of Aquarius. Why? Because there's going to be a full moon in Aries, your first house. There's going to be a new moon in Libra in your 7th house, as well as Venus entering Libra, your 7th house. There's going to be, of course, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, your 11th house. And there's going to be heavy Scorpionic energy in your 8th house because the Sun will ingress into Scorpio. Mars is already in Scorpio, and earlier in October, 6th of October, Mercury will enter Scorpio, and eventually will catch up and join or conjunct with Mars. The Sun is also currently in Libra in your 7th house. So for the month of October, on the 6th, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, Sun ingress into Scorpio, beginning of Scorpio season. And on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius. So the houses that will be activated, of course, Aries house, first house, there's going to be a full moon there. And then Aquarius house, 11th house, Pluto will turn retrograde there. Pluto will turn direct after retrograde in your 11th house, friendship. And then after that, Sun and then Venus will be in Libra in your 7th house. And of course, heavy Scorpionic energy. Mars, the Sun will eventually be there. And then Mercury in your 8th house, Scorpio houses. So it's about you, first house, your friendship, 11th house, your relationship, your partnership, romantically or business-wise, 7th house, and your transformation, investments, shared resources, and intimacy, 8th house. Okay, for the second rising sign, we will go to Taurus rising, the most accurate, followed by Taurus sun and Taurus moon. For my dear Taurus rising friends, this October highlights will focus the energies on 4 different houses or divisions in your chart using whole sign. Your Aries house, your Scorpio house, your Libra house, and then your Aquarius house. For my dear Taurus rising friends, your Aries house is your 12th house. Your Scorpio house is your 7th house. Your Libra house is your 6th house. Yes, your 6th house. And then your Aquarius house is your 10th house. So this October energies, astrological energies for October, will highlight your mental health, 12th house, your career, 10th house, and then your relationship, marriage, partnership, 7th house, and then your health, your pets, and your daily routines, 6th house. On the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters. Venus is your chart ruler, so pay attention. Venus enters Libra, which is good. It's home kingdom. And then on the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct with Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, Sun ingress into Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius. So my dear Taurus rising friends, new full moon in Aries in your 12th house. Mental health, rest. Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, right? In your 10th house. And then Mars is already in Scorpio, your 7th house, but it will be joined by Mercury and then later in the month by the Sun, highlighting your 7th house, marriage, relationship, partnership, romantically and business-wise. And then Sun is currently in your Libra house, which is your 6th house. Venus will join in the middle of the month. Venus enters your 6th house together with the Sun in Libra. Your health will be center of attention. Your pets, your daily routines, your chores, your daily habit. So, and then after that, the Sun will join Mars and Mercury on the 23rd in Scorpio, once again, highlighting your 7th house, further highlighting your 7th house. So for this entire month of October, your mental health, your career, your relationship, and your physical health is going to be highlighted. For the 3rd rising sign, we will go to Gemini rising, the most accurate, followed by Gemini sun and Gemini moon. For my dear Gemini rising friends, this October highlights will highlight or concentrate the energies in 4 division or 4 houses in your chart for Gemini rising. Your Aries house, which is your 11th house. Your Aquarius house, which is your 9th house. Your Scorpio house, which is your 6th house. And then your Libra house, which is your 5th house. So it's about friendship, travel, health, physical health, and children and creativity, self-expression. So on the 6th of October, your chart ruler, because you're a Gemini rising, your chart ruler Mercury on the 6th of October will ingress into Scorpio. You will take a scorpionic vibe. You will turn more scorpionic. So your capacity, your mental capacity, the way you look at things, will have that tinge of Scorpio. On the 7th, a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars joins with Mercury conjunct in Scorpio. This is very heavy energy for you, Gemini, so pay attention. And then on the 21st, there's going to be a new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, Sun enters Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then 29th, your chart ruler Mercury leaves Scorpio and enters Sagittarius, your 7th house. So for this entire month, your focus will be in Scorpio and then later in Sagittarius. But for the entire month, your focus will be, for most of the month, will be on your Scorpio house. Your Scorpio house will be your 6th house, because you're Gemini, your 7th house is Sagittarius, your 6th house is Scorpio. So health, routines, pets will be a focal, will steal your attention for this entire month. So scorpionic energy, the Sun, Mercury, Mars, focus on your 6th house. And then the Sun, right? Of course with Venus, Sun is currently still in Libra, and Sun and Venus will be in your 5th house. Another focus will be your children, your creativity, self-expression, 5th house. New moon is there. And then the full moon in Aries will highlight your 11th house, friendship. And then there's going to be Pluto turns direct and Aquarius, further highlighting your 9th house, which is travel, religion, your higher minds. For the next rising sign, we will go to Cancer rising, the most accurate, followed by Cancer sun and Cancer moon. For my dear Cancer rising friends, this entire month of October will focus your attention on 4 houses because you are a cardinal sign, and there's going to be full moon and new moon both in cardinal signs, so the angles will be impacted. So you will be one of the signs that will be heavily impacted by the events in October. So there's going to be a full moon in Aries, your 10th house, new moon in Libra, right, in your 4th house, as well as Venus will enters Libra, 4th house. And then there's going to be Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, which is your 8th house. And then energies of Scorpio will be highlighted with the Sun ingress in Scorpio later in the month. Mercury and Mars, Scorpio. For Cancer rising, Scorpio is your 5th house, right? And then of course, Venus and the Sun currently is in your 4th house. Venus will join in the middle of the month in your 4th house. So on the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, full moon in Aries. Pay attention because your ruler is the moon. And then on the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars join with Mercury in Scorpio, your 5th house. And then on the 21st, new moon in Libra in your 4th house. Pay attention, this is you. On the 23rd, Sun enters Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury leaves Scorpio and enters Sagittarius. So Mercury, Mars, and later the Sun will highlight your 5th house about children, creativity, self-expression. Both lunar events, full moon and new moon, will touch or will amplify or will have you focus on your career and family axis. Full moon in Aries, your 10th house, career, and new moon as well as Venus will join, and new moon in Libra in your 4th house, family, property, mother, your home. And then of course, Pluto turns retrograde will further highlights your 8th house, because for Cancer rising, Aquarius is your 8th house. Pluto turns direct in Aquarius in your 8th house. So this is a very familiar house for Pluto. So do not be afraid. So it will highlight your 8th house issues, investments, transformation, as well as psychology and intimacy. Okay, for the next rising sign, we will go to Leo rising, the most accurate, followed by Leo sun and Leo moon. For my dear Leo rising friends, you are the sun. For the month of October, as well as every month, the focus for Leo rising is where the sun is going. The sun is currently in Libra. By the last 10 days of October, it will leave Libra and enter Scorpio. So right now, you will see the world through Libra eyes, Libra energy. So on the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, there's going to be a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, your chart ruler, the Sun, will leave Libra and enter Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius. So houses that will activate it for my Leo rising friends would be, of course, your 7th house, Aquarius, right? And then after that, other houses that will be activated will be your Aries house, which is your 9th house, and then your Libra house, which is your 3rd house, and your Scorpio house, right? Scorpio house, which is your 4th house. So full moon in Aries will highlight your travel plans, the 9th house. And then Pluto turns direct, 7th house will highlight your relationship in Aquarius. And then heavy Scorpionic energy, the Sun eventually will be there, Mars is already there, and then Mercury will highlight your 4th house, family, properties, home, your mother. And then Libra energy, the Sun is currently in Libra, is focusing on your 3rd house. Venus will join, focusing on your 3rd house, right? Your focus will also be in your 3rd house matters, such as your siblings, communications, gadgets, and your vehicles. So houses that will be activated will be your 9th, your 3rd, your 4th, and then your 7th. About your travel, your relationship, your family, and then your siblings. For the next rising sign, we will go to Virgo rising, the most accurate, followed by Virgo sun and Virgo moon. For my dear Virgo rising friends, this October highlights will highlight your chart ruler, which is Mercury, the same with Gemini, right? But different configurations. On the 6th, your chart ruler Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra, leaving your sign. And then on the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, your chart ruler Mercury joins Mars in a conjunction in Scorpio. Pay attention. This is heavy energy. On the 21st, there's going to be a new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, there's going to be Sun ingress into Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, your chart ruler Mercury leaves Scorpio and enters Sagittarius. So houses that will be activated for you, my Virgo rising friends, is going to be your Aries house, your Scorpio house, your Aquarius house, and then your Libra house. The Sun is currently in Libra. Venus will join, highlighting your 2nd house, money. The Sun will eventually leave 2nd house and then enter Scorpio, your 3rd house. Mars is already there. Mercury will join. So your chart ruler will be in the 3rd house together with the Sun eventually and Mars. 3rd house is your communication, siblings, gadgets, skills, knowledge, as well as your vehicles. And then there's going to be a new moon in Libra, right? Also in your 2nd house. A full moon will happen in Aries. For my dear Virgo rising friends, Aries is your 8th house. House of intimacy, secrets, investments, transformation. This is the house of heavy stuff. Full moon will happen there. And then Aquarius house. Aquarius will be your 6th house. Your health. Pluto will turn direct there. So some kind of breakthrough in terms of your 6th house matters. Work, pets, physical health. So my Virgo rising friends, the focus for the entire month of October will be in your 2nd, money, your 3rd, siblings and communications, your 6th, in terms of your health and pets and daily details, and also your 8th house, in terms of investments, shared resources, intimacy, and transformation. So pay attention, because 2 heavy houses, 2 very karmic houses, 6 and 8, will be activated. So just pay attention. For the next rising sign, we will go to Libra rising, the most accurate, followed by Libra sun and Libra moon. For my dear Libra rising friends, this month of October will highlight 4 different houses in your chart. One of the houses that will be highlighted is the 1st house. The Sun is currently in the 1st house, in you. This is Libra season. So on the 6th of October, Mercury turns direct. Mercury enters Scorpio. And then on the 7th, full moon in Aries. On the 13th, your chart ruler, pay attention, your chart ruler Venus enters Libra, your 1st house, further enhancing you, your aura, your energy. And then on the 20th, on the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, there's a new moon in Libra, once again your sign. And then on the 23rd, Sun enters Libra and beginning of the Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury leaves Scorpio and enters Sagittarius. So for this entire month of October, the focus is in you, because there's Sun, for most of the month, Sun will be in the first house, you. There's going to be a new moon there, you. And your chart ruler Venus will leave your 12th house, Virgo, and enters the first house, you. So houses that will be activated will be your first house, your second house, your fifth house, and then your seventh house. So it's about you, it's about your money, it's about your creativity and self-expression and children, and about your partnership and relationship, whether it's romantic or business-wise. So first house is about you. Scorpio, heavy energies of Scorpio will highlight your second house, and then Pluto turns direct in Aquarius will highlight your fifth house, children, self-expression, creativity, and then there's going to be a full moon in Aries that will further highlighting your seventh house, relationship, marriage, contracts, and partnership. For the next rising sign, we will go to Scorpio rising, the most accurate, followed by Scorpio sun and Scorpio moon. Scorpio, together with Libra, this month is going to be, the focus is basically going to be in you. Initially, it will be in Libra, and then later in the month of October, focus will be on you. So houses that will be activated will be the first house, your 12th house, right? And then after that, your 4th house, and then your 6th house. So on the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio, your sign. On the 7th, full moon in Aries, in your 6th house. And then on the 13th, Venus enters Libra, your 12th house. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct. Pluto is one of your ruler. Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, your 4th house. And then after that, on the 20th, Mars, your chart ruler, another chart ruler. You have two chart ruler, Mars and Pluto. Mars, already in your sign, will conjunct Mercury on the 20th in Scorpio in your first house. And then on the 21st, there's going to be a new moon in Libra in your 12th house. And then after that, on the 23rd, Sun will leave Libra and enter Scorpio, your first house, further enhancing you. And then on the 29th, Mercury will leave your sign and enters your second house of Sagittarius. So houses that will be activated for this entire month would be your 12th, your 1st, your 4th, right? And then your 6th. Full moon in Aries activated your 6th house. Health, pets, daily details, daily routines, chores. Pluto turns direct, one of your chart ruler, will further giving you some resolution or some breakthrough in terms of your family, because Aquarius is your 4th house. Family, homes, your mother, your property. And then the Sun and then eventually Venus will join in Libra in your 12th house, mental health. And then the Sun will leave Libra and then enters Scorpio, your first house. Mars is already there, further enhancing your energy, right? That Scorpionic energy, first house. Mercury will also be, for most of the month, will be in the first house also. So it's about your mental health. It's about you, your personality, your appearance, your energy. It's about your family, 4th house. And also your Aries house. It's about your health, physical health, as well as your pets. Okay, for the next rising sign, we will go to Sagittarius rising, the most accurate, followed by Sagittarius sun and Sagittarius moon. For my dear Sagittarius rising friends, this October highlights will focus the energies on 4 houses, for 4 division in your chart. it will be Aries, Aquarius, Libra, and Scorpio. On the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, there's going to be a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, there's going to be Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, there's a new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, Sun enters Scorpio. And on the 29th, Mercury will leave Scorpio and enters your sign, Sagittarius. So houses that will be activated or highlighted for this entire month of October will be your Aries house. Aries house will be your 5th house. And then your Libra house, which is your 11th house. And then your Scorpio house, which is your 12th house. And then your Aquarius house, which is your 3rd house. So there's going to be a full moon and new moon. Full moon in Aries, your 5th house. Children, creativity, self-expression. And then new moon, and as well as the sun currently there. And then also Venus will join. Highlight your 11th house, Libra, your friendship, networking, social media. And then there's heavy scorpionic energy, Mars, and then Mercury and Sun will be eventually there. Will highlight your 12th house because you're Sagittarius rising. Scorpio is your 12th house, mental health. And then of course Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, will highlight your 3rd house, your siblings, because for Sagittarius, Aquarius is your 3rd house, your siblings, your gadgets, your knowledge, your communication, your vehicles. So it's about communications and siblings, 3rd house. It's about children and self-expression, 5th house. It's about mental health, 12th house. And about friendship, 11th house. For the next rising sign, we will go to Capricorn rising, the most accurate, followed by Capricorn sun and Capricorn moon. For my dear Capricorn rising friends, this month of October you will be one of the signs that will be quite heavily impacted because there's going to be a new moon and full moon on the cardinal axis, meaning that as a cardinal sign you will be impacted because it will be happening in the angles of your chart. So on the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, there's going to be a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, there's a new moon in new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, Sun enters Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season, and then on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius. Houses that will be activated will be houses that will be amplified for use. Capricorn, my Capricorn rising friends, would be the angles. Because Libra is your 10th, Aries is your 4th. Sun is currently there in the 10th house. Venus will join, and there's going to be a new moon there, career. A full moon will happen earlier in the month in Aries, your 4th house, family, properties, mother. Scorpio is your 11th house. Eventually the Sun will ingress into Scorpio, but Mars is already there. Mercury will join, highlighting your friendship. And then after that, Aquarius is your 2nd house. Pluto will turn direct in Aquarius, further highlighting, emphasizing resolution, transformation about money. So houses that will be affected for my Capricorn rising friends will be the 10th, career, the 11th, friendship, the 2nd, money, and also the 4th, family. For the next rising sign, we will go to Aquarius rising, the most accurate, followed by Aquarius sun and Aquarius moon. For my dear Aquarius rising friends, this entire month of October, the next month of October, the highlights will be focusing, one of the main focus of October will be in your sign. Pluto will turn direct in October, middle of October, your 1st house. So on the 6th, Mercury 6th of October, Mercury will enter Scorpio. On the 7th, there's going to be a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius, your first house. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Mercury, conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. On the 21st, there's going to be a new moon in Libra. On the 23rd, the Sun enters Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius. So the houses that will be highlighted for you, my dear Aquarius rising friends, will be the first house, you. Pluto is there, turn direct. And then after that will be your Scorpionic house. Scorpio house will be your 10th house, career. Your Libra house, your 9th house, travel. As well as your 3rd house, Aries. Full moon is going to happen there. So it's about communication. 3rd house, your 1st house, personality, your appearance, 1st house, your career, 10th house, right, Scorpio, as well as your Libra house, travel, your 9th house. For the last rising sign, we will go to Pisces rising, the most accurate, followed by Pisces sun and Pisces moon. For my dear Pisces rising friends, this October highlights will highlight 4 different parts of your chart. The Scorpio part, the Libra part, the Aries part, as well as the Aquarius part. On the 6th of October, Mercury enters Scorpio. On the 7th, there's going to be a full moon in Aries. On the 13th, Venus enters Libra. On the 14th, Pluto turns direct in Aquarius. On the 20th, Mars conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio. On the 21st, new moon in Aries. On the 23rd, Sun ingress into Scorpio, beginning Scorpio season. And then on the 29th, Mercury enters Sagittarius after leaving Scorpio. So houses that will be activated for my dear Pisces rising friends will be your Aries house, which is your 2nd house, right? And then your Libra house, which is your 8th house. And then your Scorpio house, which is your 9th house. And your Aquarius house, which is your 12th house. So you have to pay quite a bit of attention because 2 dark houses, I don't want to say difficult, but 2 heavy houses, 2 dark houses, which is the 12th, and then the 8th will be activated. Pluto turns direct in Aquarius in your 12th house, mental health. Full moon in Aries, your 2nd house, money. Sun is currently in Libra, your 8th house. Venus will join in Libra, your 8th house. 8th house is about investments, transformation. It's about psychology, the depth of things. This is the house where you literally need to transform yourself. And then your Scorpio house, which is your 9th house, travel. It's about philosophy of life, optimism. This is the house of religion also. So for my Pisces rising friends, it will be about your mental health, 12th house, about your money, 2nd house, about your transformation, Libra, 8th house, and about your travel and your philosophy of life, your 9th house, Scorpio house. So Sun will eventually move away from your 8th house, entering your 9th house. This is good, right? And then there's going to be a full moon and new moon in your 8th house, Libra, and full moon in your 2nd house, Aries, money. There's going to be some culmination in terms of your money narrative, money story. But Pluto turns direct in your 12th house. This is a good sign for you to recharge yourself. This is the house of rest, but also take care of your mental health, 12th house. So for my dear Pisces rising friends, it's about your mental health, 12th house. It's about your money, 2nd house, is about your transformation, 8th house, and other people's money also, and intimacy, 8th house, as well as your travel, optimism, religion, and your higher philosophy of life, your 9th house.